Have you ever felt like no matter how patient, loving, or emotionally available you are, the person you care about just can't let you in? Like there's an invisible wall between you, and every time you get close, they pull away, even when you've done nothing wrong? I'm Jim Rohn, and in this video, I'm going to show you a powerful, little-known approach that's been quietly changing the way people relate to avoidantly attached partners. It's called invisible reparenting. And it works. Not by forcing closeness, but by creating a felt sense of safety that gently disarms their defenses, often before they even realize it's happening. Now, if you've ever chased connection with someone who's emotionally distant, you know how painful it is. You try harder, reassure more, show up consistently, only to feel punished for caring. They retreat, shut down, or act like you're the problem just for wanting closeness. That cycle? It's not your fault, but it is exhausting. Here's the truth most people don't tell you. You can't force an avoidant to open up with logic, pressure, or emotional chasing. But you can create the kind of space where their nervous system slowly learns that connection doesn't equal danger. That's what invisible reparenting does. And it starts with you showing up differently. Not from fear, but from grounded clarity. Stick with me in this video, and I'll walk you through the 3 core beliefs that keep avoidants trapped behind their walls, and how you can gently challenge each one without losing yourself in the process. No begging, no pushing, no walking on eggshells. If you're ready to stop chasing and start embodying the secure energy that actually changes the dynamic, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, and stay with me until the end. This might just be the perspective shift you've been waiting for. Let's dive in. To really understand how avoidant attachment forms, and more importantly, how to respond to it with empathy and strength, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger psychological picture. This is where Erikson's developmental stages come in. Erikson was a psychoanalyst who mapped out 8 key stages of human development, each tied to a core emotional conflict. The idea is this: as we grow, we face specific challenges at different ages, and how those challenges get resolved shapes our emotional foundation. Now, when it comes to avoidant attachment, there are 3 stages that play a particularly big role. Stage 1, trust versus mistrust. Stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. And Stage 5, identity versus role confusion. These stages happen during infancy, toddlerhood, and adolescence. Formative years when our beliefs about safety, independence, and self-worth are being hardwired. Let's start with Stage 1, trust versus mistrust, which takes place from birth to about 18 months. This is where it all begins. If a baby's needs are met consistently, if caregivers respond with warmth, affection, and emotional presence, the child learns the world is safe. I can trust others. I can relax into connection. But if that care is inconsistent, emotionally cold, or flat-out absent, the child draws the opposite conclusion. I'm alone. No one shows up for me. This is the root of avoidant attachment. That baby grows into an adult who, deep down, believes people aren't dependable, so they guard themselves against ever needing anyone again. Then comes Stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt, which unfolds between 18 months and 3 years. This is when kids start testing limits. They say no, throw tantrums, and explore their independence. But here's the key. If they're punished, shamed, or emotionally rejected for having needs or expressing big feelings, they learn a dangerous lesson. They learn that needing something makes them bad. So what do? They adapt. They hide their needs. They try to be easy, to stay small, to not rock the boat. And over time, that turns into a deep internalized belief. I don't need anything. I can do it all myself. On the outside, it might look like strength, but underneath, it's a survival strategy built on shame. Finally, there's Stage 5, identity versus role confusion, which happens during adolescence. This is when we ask, who am I? We start forming our identity, separate from our parents and caregivers. But if earlier stages were filled with emotional instability, rejection, or pressure to be someone you're not, it's hard to answer that question honestly. Instead of becoming someone, the avoidant learns to become whatever others want. They wear masks, they perform, they become hyper-independent, hyper-competent, or emotionally distant, because being real never felt safe. This is where the avoidant starts playing roles instead of living authentically. I had a client once, let's call her Amanda. She was dating someone with avoidant tendencies. She'd say things like, "Every time I try to open up, he pulls back. He acts like I'm asking for too much when I just want a simple check-in or to spend more quality time together." When we dug into his past, it turned out he'd grown up in a household where emotional needs were met with annoyance. His mom used to say things like, "Don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about," and his dad was rarely present. He learned early on to shut down his emotional side and just function. As an adult, even the gentlest bids for connection triggered his nervous system. Not because Amanda did anything wrong, but because her emotional presence bumped into his unresolved early-stage beliefs. No one shows up. I don't need anyone. If I get too close, I'll lose myself. This is why understanding these early stages matters so much. Avoidant people aren't cold or broken. They're protecting themselves from wounds that were formed long before they could even speak. They've built emotional walls, not to hurt you, but to survive a world that once felt unsafe. When you see it that way, it changes how you respond. Instead of chasing or trying to fix them, you can show up with compassion and boundary. You can stop taking their distance personally. And you can start creating the kind of secure presence that challenges those old beliefs without abandoning yourself in the process. Because real healing doesn't come from dragging someone out of their fortress. It comes from being the one person who doesn't try to tear it down, but also doesn't lose themselves trying to get in. Now that you understand where avoidant behavior comes from, let's talk about what you can actually do about it. And no, it's not about fixing them, over-explaining, or sending them every article on attachment theory. What I want to introduce you to is something called invisible reparenting. This is not a flashy or confrontational technique. It's subtle, it's grounded, and it works beneath the surface. Most of the time, the avoidant partner doesn't even realize what's happening. But over time, it can quietly shift how they experience emotional closeness and safety. So what exactly is invisible reparenting? At its core, it's a way of relating that challenges the avoidant's internal beliefs without saying a word. It's nonverbal, it's non-confrontational, it's the opposite of pressure. You're not trying to prove your worth or drag them into emotional intimacy. Instead, you're showing up in a steady, emotionally regulated way that subtly communicates, "I'm safe. I don't need you to perform. I don't need to fix you. But I also won't abandon myself to stay close to you." That is powerful. Here's what it looks like in real life. Let's say your avoidant partner has gone distant again after a close moment. Maybe you spent the weekend together, things felt connected, and then silence. Old you might panic. You might send a bunch of texts, try to figure out what went wrong, or take their silence as a personal rejection. But invisible reparenting means you respond differently. You don't chase. You don't punish them either. Instead, you mirror their distance with calm emotional neutrality. You give space, but not out of withdrawal or hurt. You do it while remaining emotionally available and centered. That's the reparenting part. You're doing what their nervous system never got growing up. Space without abandonment. Silence without emotional chaos. And here's the wild thing. Their nervous system starts to notice. You're not confirming their old belief that closeness leads to pressure or that silence leads to rejection. You're creating a new experience entirely. Over time, that repeated, safe exposure can start to change how they relate to you. Their defenses might not drop all at once, but they soften. They may start to initiate contact on their own, test the waters with vulnerability, or reach for you in moments when they would have shut down before. This isn't about being perfect or pretending you don't have needs. It's about responding from a place of grounded self-respect. You're not playing it cool. You're being steady. You're not giving to get. You're holding emotional boundaries with care. That's what invisible reparenting is all about. Showing, not telling. Modeling secure attachment in a way that doesn't overwhelm the avoidance system, but invites them slowly, gently into safety. And even if they never fully step into it, you've done your part without losing yourself. That's the quiet strength of this work. Let's break down the heart of invisible reparenting into what I call the 3-ladder rungs. Each rung is tied to a deep belief avoidantly attached people carry, usually formed in childhood when emotional needs were unmet or punished. Your job isn't to fix these beliefs, but to relate to them in a way that quietly challenges them. Think of it like this: you're not barging through their walls. You're showing up so consistently and calmly that they start to wonder if the wall is even necessary. Rung 1, I can't trust anyone. This is the core belief beneath most avoidant behavior. It comes from a time in their life when they reached out and no one showed up, or worse, showing neediness led to rejection. So now, even if you're kind and loving, they expect inconsistency. They might even unconsciously test it by pulling away, going cold, or ghosting you briefly to see how you'll respond. Here's where invisible reparenting starts. You don't chase, but you also don't punish. If they create distance, you mirror it, but without resentment. You're not passive-aggressive, and you don't disappear emotionally. You remain steady. Maybe that means taking a day or two for yourself, giving space without sending 10 anxious texts, or making them guess how you feel. That calm energy is what shows them, oh, this person doesn't freak out when I pull back. Maybe connection isn't always chaos. Rung 2, I don't need anything. Avoidance often learned early that needing something, especially emotional support, leads to shame or rejection. So they adapt by convincing themselves they don't need anyone. This makes relationships feel threatening because emotional bids like, "Are you okay?" or "Can we talk?" sound like pressure. Your role here is to let them initiate emotional closeness at their own pace, even if it's slow. That means you don't keep checking in just to feel safe. You let silence be silence, but you stay calm and available. When they do reach out or show vulnerability, even in small ways, you respond gently. No overreactions, no guilt tripping. And when you need something, you express it clearly, without shrinking or oversharing. For example, I'd really love some quality time with you this weekend, but if that's not possible, I'll make other plans for myself. No pressure, just honest, respectful communication. Rung 3, I have to perform to be accepted. This one's huge. Avoidants often perform in relationships because they believe their real self isn't acceptable. So they become the cool, self-sufficient, emotionally unbothered version of themselves. But deep down, they're terrified that if they showed their messy or vulnerable side, they'd be abandoned. Invisible reparenting here means modeling authenticity. Be real. If something hurts, say it. If you're feeling close or unsure, speak it calmly. Don't fake okay when you're not, and don't reward them more for being distant or perfect. Stay consistent no matter which version of them shows up. That tells their nervous system you don't have to perform here, you can just be. Each rung takes time, but over time, your steadiness, without control, guilt, or overfunctioning, creates the one thing their nervous system has never had: safety in connection. Here's the part most people miss, and honestly, it's the most important. Invisible reparenting isn't about fixing your avoidant partner. That's not your job, and it never was. The deeper message here is this: you're not trying to fix them. You're learning to embody secure attachment. You're becoming the version of yourself who doesn't need to chase, overperfunction, or walk on eggshells just to keep someone close. Whether they grow or not, you do. And that's what makes this process so powerful. Let's be real. Sometimes your avoidant partner won't change. They may never lower the drawbridge. They might stay stuck in their patterns, too afraid to be seen or too guarded to ever fully let love in. And if that happens, it's painful, but it's also revealing, because invisible reparenting isn't just about helping them feel safe. It shows you how much strength, patience, and clarity you've developed. You're no longer spiraling over mixed signals. You're no longer afraid to express a need. You've learned how to stay emotionally grounded even when the other person pulls away. A client of mine once shared this moment with me. She'd spent months navigating an on and off dynamic with a deeply avoidant partner. Every time things got close, he'd shut down. But instead of chasing, she stayed calm. She mirrored his space without resentment. She voiced her needs without pressure. And eventually, when she realized he wasn't ready to show up, she walked away. Not with drama, but with dignity. Her exact words were, "I used to think healing meant getting him back. Now I know it means I didn't lose myself this time." That's the real win. Because let's face it, chasing someone who isn't emotionally available is a form of self-abandonment. And invisible reparenting teaches you how to show up differently. It trains your nervous system to stay calm in discomfort. It helps you set boundaries without guilt. And it builds real emotional resilience, because you stop reacting from fear and start responding from clarity. This process grows you. You become more patient, more self-aware, and way more connected to your own truth. You stop needing people to change in order for you to feel okay. That doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment. It means you honor what's real and you have the courage to let go when connection requires too much of you. That's what secure attachment looks like in action. So if the avoidant never transforms, if they stay behind their wall, you'll still walk away stronger. You'll know that you showed up with integrity, that you led with love and self-respect. And you'll carry that with you into every future relationship, because invisible reparenting doesn't just shape how they see connection, it shapes how you relate to yourself. And that's where the real healing happens. Let's wrap this up with the truth that ties everything together. You don't have to force connection, beg for change, or chase love to feel safe. Real security comes from the inside, and that's what invisible reparenting helps you build. It's not about fixing an avoidant partner. It's about modeling something radically different, grounded, steady, emotionally mature love. And whether they grow from it or not, you do. In this video, we broke down what avoidant attachment really looks like under the surface. How early developmental stages like trust, autonomy, and identity shape their deepest fears around closeness. We explored the subtle power of invisible reparenting, a way of relating that gently challenges their internal defenses without confrontation, guilt, or pressure. We looked at the three ladder rungs. I can't trust anyone, I don't need anything, and I have to perform to be accepted. And how you can respond to each belief with emotional consistency, clarity, and calm. And we finished with a deeper truth. Even if they never change, this work changes you. You grow stronger boundaries, emotional resilience, and the confidence to lead with secure energy, no matter how the other person shows up. You stop reacting from fear. You start choosing relationships that match your capacity for depth. And that shift, that's what makes you magnetic to the kind of love that's actually mutual. So if this resonated with you, if you've ever felt trapped in a dynamic where you're giving more than you're getting, or walking on eggshells to avoid triggering someone's shutdown, I hope this gave you clarity and a sense of calm power. You're not asking for too much. You're just ready for something more real. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you understand yourself or someone you care about a little more clearly, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what part stood out to you, or how you've tried visible reparenting in your own life. And if you're ready to stop chasing, start healing, and build real, grounded connection, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I post weekly content to help you shift out of anxious avoidant dynamics, lead with clarity, and create relationships that feel emotionally safe and sustainable. Until next time, remember, real love doesn't require performance. It just asks you to be who you truly are, and to offer that with self-respect. That's what cracks the walls, That's what makes love real.